The murder case of Iowa college student Mollie Tibbetts has entered its final stages. Cristhian Bahena Rivera is accused of murdering the 20-year-old in July of 2018 and hiding her body in a cornfield. Both sides presented their closing arguments to the jury yesterday, following 6 days of testimony. The jury was dismissed after hours of deliberation and will reconvene today. William Morris, a court reporter for the Des Moines Register, has been following the story, and he joins us now on the phone with more details. So, William, it is rare that a murder suspect takes the stand, but Bahena Rivera took the stand and made a shocking claim that was very different from what he told police officers shortly after being arrested. Can you tell us how he presented his version of events?
That is correct. This is certainly the first time that we in the media had heard this story. I believe the first time prosecutors had heard it as well. So, Mr. Bahena Rivera is accused of having seen Mollie Tibbetts jogging, and according to the story he told investigators back in 2018, he found her attractive. He got out of his car and followed her. She rebuffed him, threatened to call police, and then he claimed he blacked out, and then the next thing he knew, he was driving and she was bleeding in his trunk. But the story he told on Wednesday explains, or would appear to explain, why her blood was found in his car, but maintains that he did not kill her. According to him, on the day that she disappeared, he had just gotten back from work and showered and came out and found two masked men armed with a knife and gun in the trailer where he lived, who threatened him, threatened his daughter and the child's mother, and after some time forced him to drive them to the road where Tibbetts was jogging, where one of them supposedly did the deed. They then put her in his car, forced him to drive them to the cornfield where her body was later found, and then just left him there with his car, his phone, and this deceased young woman. He says that he then concealed the body and didn't tell anybody because, again, he was afraid of the threats they had made to his family.
Okay. There were closing arguments presented by both the case and, of course, Bahena Rivera's side. Can you sum up the closing arguments on both sides for us?
Well, the prosecution presented, I'd say, a very methodical case over their 4 days of testimony, building from point to point to point of how each piece of evidence led to the next. And they reviewed all of that in their closing argument, talking about how after more than 4 weeks of searching, they found a home surveillance video that showed Mollie Tibbetts jogging on her route, and then seconds later, this distinctive black car circling in the same area. They were able to locate that car, identify the driver as Bahena Rivera. Then over a marathon, 11-hour overnight interview session, he eventually admitted to them, or told them, as I said before, that he had accosted Tibbetts and that he had blacked out and then hidden her body. The physical evidence in the case is also helpful. They have DNA evidence putting her blood in his car and other details from where they found the body. So that's the state's argument. We have a mountain of evidence. We have proven every element. You need to convict.
And then his argument is basically, I didn't do it, these other guys did it?
That's correct. The defense has put in a lot of work to point the finger toward Mollie Tibbetts' boyfriend, Dalton Jack, making the case that the couple was having a rough patch, maybe going to break up, and that I believe the theory is that he did not want that to happen, so he killed her instead. They have a problem with that, though, in that he has testified, and his boss at the time have testified, that at the time she disappeared, he was working on a construction site in in Dubuque, Iowa, more than 2 hours away.
How did the defense attorneys tackle his confession, which tells us a completely different tale?
They've talked a lot in the case about the conditions in which he was interviewed. He was picked up at the tail end of a nearly 12-hour workday. He works on a dairy farm, very hard physical labor. And as I said, he was taken to the police station and interviewed for more than 11 hours. So by the end of this, when he led them to the body, he'd been awake, aside from a few quick naps during breaks, for more than 24 hours. The defense actually, earlier in the case, tried to get his all of his interviews and everything that stemmed from them thrown out of court on the theory that that police had not properly informed him of his rights and had not respected those rights. The judge mostly declined, although he did rule that about 6 hours of the interview overnight could not be used because he was not properly read his Miranda rights.
Okay, so the jury deliberated a bit. They're reconvening today. Do we have any idea when a decision may come from them?
Well, as a courts reporter, the lesson I've learned is that I am very bad at predicting what juries will do and when they'll do them. But with that said, I would expect to hear a verdict sometime today. The case seems, for where I was sitting, fairly strong. And I can appreciate a jury wanting to be thorough and go through all of this considerable evidence. But I do think they have probably everything they need to give a verdict today. You also have to keep in mind, although they're not supposed to be, pressured into reaching a verdict for the sake of a verdict, we're going into a 3-day weekend, and I'm sure the juries have in the back of their mind that they would not like to come back on Tuesday and resume this.
Yeah, hey, they're made up of people like you and me, and these are all factors that have an influence. William Morris, thank you very much.
You're most welcome.